Welcome to They Tried to Bury Us. My name is Tamer Kattan. I'll be your host. I'm a comedian, a writer, and an actor. I was born in Egypt and moved to America when I was just a kid, so I'm very proud of being an immigrant. And ever since I started doing comedy, I've met more and more immigrants, and I have found more and more amazing stories, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I'm going to have a new guest. They're going to sit down and share with us their American origin stories, and we're going to get to know each other better, and we're going to find out that we're all just the same. So tune in each week, tell every single person you know, and thanks for listening. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of They Tried to Bury Us. I'm Tamer Kattan, and with me, as always, is my amazing mom,
Kity Kattan.
Hi, Kity Kattan.
Hi, baby. How are you?
I'm really good.
I'm good.
How was your week?
Awesome.
You helped me move. I moved, and you are a master air traffic controller of movers.
Yeah.
You just take charge.
I take charge, and the guy, he came. I think they tried to rip me off a little bit.
Yeah, you caught him.
I caught him, but
Yeah.
I was very sweet because the immigrant, and I feel bad.
Yeah.
And the young one, he just walk inside the house, use the bathroom without asking
Oh, no
or
way.
anything. Yeah, and I said, he's late, and he was looking around inside the house. And I was, but he's just young and a new immigrant. I can see that, so I
Yeah.
don't complain. I shut my mouth, but he was very nice.
This is the most yin-yang,
Yeah.
sweet and
Yeah.
sour review
Yeah.
of movers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, it's hard. It's a hard job. I remember doing it for a while. I
Yeah.
was a mover for a while when I was going through some tough times.
And they did something tricky.
Okay, what'd they do?
They should say, if you pay cash, you do that. If you
Yeah.
put credit. So when I give him credit, he say,
Oh,
we
it's
charge
more.
you 150, which is rip
150
off.
more than it was.
Yeah, rip off
Yeah.
150. 50, okay.
Yeah, and now
not
everybody knows that my
150.
mom paid for my movers.
No. You pay me back. No, I don't. You adult and you pay me back. No problem.
Listen,
I'm sorry, I
there's
didn't
nothing.
mean it.
Listen, you helped me, and I
No.
really appreciate it.
I love you.
And I know I love you too.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm very open to. I don't like getting help from people, but you know, moves are always expensive and all that stuff.
No,
and-
it's
and,
okay. It
so
turned out so nice and good people and all
Yeah.
that. That's it.
Well, thank you.
Okay, and I love you. I don't mean it this way. You pay back, so no worry.
I will pay you back.
Yeah, no worry about
You're right.
it. Okay,
You're
I
right.
love you.
I love you too.
That's what mom for, you know.
No, that's not really what they're for. It's just
Yes.
birth and feeding. But your job was done when I was 18.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
but sometimes.
I think it
why
was when
not?
I started cocaine. I felt like your job was done.
Oh my God! Shut up! Shut up!
I was like, no more breast milk for me. This is.
Shut up, Tamer. I don't want to people believe.
Move
it,
over, white
okay?
liquid. Here comes white
Oh
powder.
my God, Tamer. Oh my God! Stop this
just-
shit.
I'm
okay?
kidding. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
okay.
I'm kidding.
I'm proud of you, so don't mess it up, okay?
Okay.
I
well,
love
thank
you.
you. I love you too.
Okay.
And but welcome back, and thank you for being here. It's nice to have you back. When I was on the road, I missed having you, so it's great to have you back. And
Merci
I'm
too.
really excited for you to meet my a fairly new friend from comedy that I met through somebody else that you know. You remember? Do you remember my friend that was from Russia?
Who's that?
You don't remember a Russian interview? It wasn't Ilya.
Line or Lino or
Leon!
Oh, I love this
Wow, you
guy.
broke the
I'm so
sound.
sorry. Oh my God, I hug him and I kiss him. I love him.
Yeah.
Leon's
Yeah.
the best.
Look at you're good. I'm impressed.
Very good.
Who says older people's brains slip? What are they
No,
talking
not
about?
me.
Look
Not
at
yet.
that. You're like an Egyptian computer.
Not yet. I will
Yeah.
be maybe another 10 years. I give you a break.
We have software in Egypt too. It's called
Okay.
Broken Windows.
Okay. So you know him through Leon.
Leon Mandel.
Oh, he's very
So I-
good-hearted.
He's
man.
a great guy.
I
Great
love
guy
him.
and one of my favorite people, one of my good
Yeah,
friends.
you know, some people most people I meet through your show. I love them all,
Yeah.
except two people.
Okay.
And don't tell me who.
Okay, yeah, it would be
It's
nice if you didn't call them out by name.
No,
That'd be nice.
because it's just that sometimes when you hug people, you feel it. Yeah,
So there was
the
two. You've
chemistry.
never told me this. So
No,
there was two
because
people that you felt like
two.
their energy was.
It's slow. One in very low.
Don't tell me their names, please.
No name.
Okay.
One you don't put his show at all. You don't.
Oh,
okay?
interesting. Well,
And-
now that he knows.
Oh, okay. I shut up.
Brutal.
Yeah, and that's
Actually,
it.
there was 3 shows that we didn't.
No, and that's
put
it.
up. Okay,
that's
let's
it.
not.
But I'm so honest. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
But this guy.
What was
I
it?
love-
What was it? Because see, you're not a regular mom. You come from this ancient place, and you told me when you were a kid you witnessed an exorcism.
Yeah.
You witnessed
yeah.
a guy exercising a
Yes.
woman.
We have many things to talk
Oh,
about.
yeah.
then.
Oh, my God.
Many
Before we
things.
get into the story, because
Okay.
this is normally a normal, longer than normal wrap-in, but this is something I want to bring up because you brought up something interesting too that was spiritual in your story.
Yeah.
But before we get, I want to introduce you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I met this guy through Leon Mandel. We've done comedy together. And then but we never did a show together.
Yeah.
We kept missing each other. Either I was on a show and you were visiting, or I got to a show that you were on after you already performed. But I looked you up and I love your stuff.
Oh my
You're so
God.
funny.
You're so sweet.
Very funny comedian, actor as well.
No, I actually market weed for a living. Yeah. So that's my day job.
Weed marketer and comedian extraordinaire, Will Melendez.
Oh my God. Thank you so much
What's
for having
the J
me.
stand for?
Jorge.
Will Jorge Melendez.
Yeah, my parents were super creative. So my dad is Jorge William. My older brother is Jorge, no middle name, and I'm William Jorge. It is the most like Latino way
Yeah.
to name your sons
That's
by
funny.
just giving them either your exact name or some variation of
Oh,
your
wow.
name.
You know how you say Jorge in Greek?
No, how do you do that?
Yorgos.
Yorgos.
Isn't that
Yeah,
great?
oh
That's
my God.
Yorgos.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the Greek
Yeah.
pronunciation of
Yeah.
George.
Yeah.
Yorgos.
Yorgos.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. it's
the
a
way
great
they
name.
say it, it's so awesome, beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it
beautiful.
is.
Yeah.
We're both big fans of Latin culture. Because when you immigrate to especially a place like Los Angeles, it's hard to be an immigrant and not have been exposed or embraced by the Mexican culture in LA.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. They're
Yeah.
super friendly people. It's very different than on the East Coast, because East Coast is much more Caribbean, Puerto Rican, Dominican,
Yeah.
Cuban. Growing up in Florida, but coming out here, it's like, oh, Mexicans, my
Yes.
cousins.
Yeah.
Like, yes. So it's been very welcoming. I
Yeah.
love
It
that.
is funny because you're like a Puerto Rican in New York. I just moved back from New York, and Puerto Ricans take over.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
mean, there's
No, we
the
took
lo-
over a long time ago,
Oh,
sweetie.
totally. No, I know. They've absolutely taken, and it's in a really cool way. It's become a part of the culture. Like,
Yeah.
there's a street in the Lower East Side. There was a street called Loisaida. Loisaida, whatever. Loisaida. And everybody's like, Loisaida? What's Loisaida? And I'm like, it's the Lower East Side with a Puerto Rican accent.
Oh, wow.
And literally, that's what people call it now.
Oh,
A lot
yeah.
of, in this one section, it's Loisaida. Loisaida is the Lower East Side. And
Yeah.
of course, just all over, there's Puerto Ricans. I miss Puerto Ricans
Yeah.
being in LA.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm number 17. Literally, when Puerto
There's
Ricans
not a
move to
lot.
LA, we put our name in a database. It sends out a push notification, then all the other Puerto Ricans find out who we are. I'm number 17.
Only
So happy to be
17.
here. Yeah, there's not very many of
That's
us.
impressive.
But
So
like, we're a
unique.
small, mighty group. We are. And wait, I have to comment on this. So you helped him move?
She did. She,
Oh,
she helped
okay.
me move
I'm
this
very
weekend.
organized. I'm very organized.
She's-
so
yeah.
I do
There is not-
everything fast.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. There is nothing that bonds parents and children than helping them move as adults.
I totally agree. Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah.
My parents, they flew from Puerto Rico to Florida, got a U-Haul, went to North Carolina where my stuff was in storage, drove it cross country, and helped me mount everything in my apartment.
No.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's love between
Love.
immigrant parents
Yes.
and their children.
Yes. Yes. I
See,
agree.
Yeah.
this
So
is you made me
Tamer,
feel better.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I grew up
Yes.
around so many white people where like I'm like, oh, my mom did this for me,
Yeah.
my mom did that for me. He's like, my dad hasn't hugged me in 3 years.
I know,
Oh my
right?
I'm
God.
like, oh no, white people make me feel like a pussy. Like,
That doesn't
not all white.
matter,
Obviously,
no.
it's not all white people.
Not
I know some
all.
white people that are
Yeah.
incredibly loving families.
Yeah.
But it is a trope.
Yeah.
Like when you watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding, there was
Yeah.
the Greek family and then the white family, and the white family was much more reserved with their affection and their
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but during the Cold War, the U.S. military used to mail flyers in the mail in America, and it said, "Don't hug your kids too much."
Yeah.
That's a fact. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
Google it. They would say, "Don't hug your kids
Why?
because
Because-
we are at war with Russia."
And one of the advantages that Russians have is they're emotionally more cold. So they said, do not overhug your kids. It'll make them weak.
Oh my God, opposite me.
That's
So,
like
so
not in our
col-
DNA.
It's
Yes.
not in our
Yeah.
DNA. It's inhuman. It's
yeah,
wrong.
wrong.
And it's the American government did that. You can Google it and see, and it shows you when governments overstep. And it really has impacted white American culture, I think, in a negative way.
Yeah.
You know, to not be able to
Even
express
At
emotion.
my work, sometimes if I sell some clothes to golfer and I try to help him to fix the shirt, some people, they say, thank you so much, I love it. Some people say, I'm a big boy, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So rude, you know.
And they
so-
look crazy.
Yeah,
You're just trying to help
yeah.
them out.
This
Yeah.
is love. And I said, yeah, I know you're big boy, but
Some-
that's a part of my
Yeah.
love to you. you
See,
know?
but that's like that's arresting the drug user instead of the drug dealer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's a victim to not being able to express his emotions,
Yes.
and when somebody touches him, he's like, "Oh, my nipples got hard. Whoa, this feels
Yeah.
weird." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I think for them, it's almost like overstimulation.
Yeah.
Like when you're petting a cat and then it scratches you, and you're like, "What the fuck? I was petting you. Everything was fine, and now
Yeah.
you scratch me." It's because it got overstimulated.
Love is great.
Love is a
And
great
hug
thing.
and touching people and hug, it's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel so
I love to
loving.
hug.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
I'm a total hugger.
I hug Paul every week, in and out.
Oh.
In and out was a funny follow-up phrase.
Are we hungry? Are we ordering burgers? Is that what's happening right now?
Amazing.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so you guys immigrated from Puerto Rico. How old were you, and what was the impetus for the move?
So I was 4 years old, and like also like the word immigrant is like a weird term for Puerto Ricans because we're actually U.S. citizens, but we're a territory of the U.S. But people still see us kind of as like the other, like second-class citizens, like not necessarily part of America. Like
Yeah,
not
like an
everybody-
adopted kid.
I know exactly. Like I
Right.
feel like I have to continuously educate people all the time that Puerto Rico is part of America. We are U.S. citizens. No, you don't need a passport to fly over there. So it's weird to kind of feel this immigrant experience while being a U.S. citizen at the same time.
Yeah.
So, but I was 4 when we moved over. My dad was a lawyer / Pentecostal minister, and for those of you who don't know what Pentecostal is, it's an evangelical movement, and it's pretty large in Puerto Rico. A lot of people assume like all of Puerto Rico is Catholic,
yeah.
but no, there's actually a very large evangelical community down there. So my dad had a dream that God told him that he needed to bring his family to the mainland U.S. for
Wow.
them to have a better life. And who is my dad to argue with God? So he decided, like, we're going to end up moving to Florida. Now, nobody in my family lived in the U.S. at the time. Like, everybody was in Puerto Rico. So
It's
we
a
moved.
bold move.
Yeah, I know.
That's a bold
And
with
and
family
with no
and-
English. Like, my parents did not speak any
Wow.
English.
Had he ever before that ever said, "I had a dream and God spoke to me," or was this the first time?
I think if I remember correctly, it was the first time.
Wow.
And
So it
he
was a big deal.
Yeah,
It was different.
Absolutely.
If anything, at least it was different than any other kind of.
Yeah.
We should do this type of a moment.
And I mean, I'm not the only kid in my family. I have at the time. So I was 4. My older brother, I believe, was 8, and then my sisters were, I think, 12 and 15.
So you had 4 kids.
So
Four kids.
so I'm the
Wow.
youngest of 4, 2 girls and then 2 boys, and then my brother and I are both gay, so it's almost like 4 girls. Huh? And we moved over when I was 5 to a town called Kissimmee, Florida.
I've heard of Kissimmee.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not that far from the Disney World resorts.
Yeah.
And my dad was a lawyer, and he didn't speak English, and for him to practice law, he would have needed to take the bar exam in Florida, and him not speaking English, for him to learn the language, study
That's
for the bar
very
exam.
hard.
And not
Oh
just
my-
regular language,
Yeah.
legalese.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
legal language is
Exactly.
so
Oh,
difficult.
Difficult.
So
Yeah, it's like saying, I don't know how to play piano. Here, play Brahms to get a job.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, so he was like getting rejected by all these jobs because he was like overqualified. Plus, he didn't speak English. So he ended up doctoring his resume and just saying like he had like very little experience. And then he got a job at Disney World as a stock guy. At the main store on Main Street at the
Wow.
Magic Kingdom. It's called the Emporium.
You know what's
So he
something?
did that for 15 years and raised a family of 6.
You know what's something? You said something that's really important. I don't think I've ever called this out before. We often talk about how strong immigrants are on this podcast, and I think that there's an opposite energy that is just as admirable, which is humility. So you've got these incredibly strong people that are willing to do anything, and so many of us have lied on our resumes the other way.
Totally.
Not like the white soccer moms who are paying for their kids to go to Harvard and lying in applications. It's literally the opposite.
Yeah.
Making our lives even harder because we're overqualified for certain things. And I think that humility is an important thing. I don't think we often talk about that because it's this weird combination of being really strong and also really humble.
I mean, I think there's this element of people being threatened by immigrants with skill sets.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're
Going, hey, I'm not a threat.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, so, but I mean, my dad ate some humble pie, and he's like, I need to put food on the table.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
let's figure this out.
You know what's funny? Do you know what this reminds me of? This is a really weird thing. You know how you said, yeah, they had to make themselves look like they're not dangerous, right? They had to say, well, we're less than, or I'm safe because I'm not as smart. Do you know how James Brown got his look?
Tell me.
James Brown and Little Richard feminized themselves to look more gay. Well, Little Richard was gay, but James Brown wasn't. But they did it because white men were afraid that these black musicians would rape, quote unquote, the white women. So then they created a style where they looked gay. So the white men would be like, oh, these are safe.
Oh
And
my
then they went and
God.
had so much sex
Oh
with
my
those
God.
women.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they look non-threatening.
James Brown did, yeah. You didn't know that story?
I did
Isn't
not know that, but I
crazy?
love that.
Yeah.
And Cat Williams still copies the hair.
Wow. Wow.
Isn't that
It's-
crazy?
Yeah.
It's cute hair, too.
Yeah.
It's cute hair.
Okay,
Yeah.
so wow, what a big moment for your dad.
Yes.
To go from being a lawyer, and being a
Lawyer.
lawyer is an incredibly difficult thing
Yeah.
to be, and all the time and education he spent, and now he's like, I'm happy to get the stock job at Disney World.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I didn't know that, like, there was, like, a dramatic change in, like, I guess how we were living. I mean, I'm just some little kid, you know,
Yeah.
starting kindergarten, learning English. And I got to go to Disney World for free because that
Amazing.
was a benefit to be
Yeah.
able to go.
That is
oh my
amazing.
God. I
Yeah.
mean, 5 years old and I get to go to Disney World for free. Everybody
Oh,
wanted to be
wow.
my
God.
friend. Everyone wanted to be my
Of
friend.
course.
They're like, I don't care that I can't really speak to this little kid. His parents could take me to Disney World for free, okay? So it was fun growing up in
Listen,
Orlando.
when we came America, first thing we have to do to go Disneyland. And then the ticket during the 70s was $18.
Oh my God.
And we felt that's so expensive, but we have to go.
Absolutely.
And it was so expensive, we have to struggle whole months for this 3 ticket, $18 each.
Yeah, it's so
But
expensive.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing experience to be in Disneyland.
I mean, it's a whole different world.
Yeah,
and everybody
yeah,
just has a
yeah.
good time. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, like, you know, who you are, what your background is. Everybody wants to get on Space Mountain.
Yeah,
Like,
everybody's in a good mood at Disney.
Yeah. Oh,
Like you
yeah.
never see videotape on World Star of people fighting at Disneyland. It never happens. Like bad things don't happen at Disneyland.
No, they don't, unless kids are screaming at me because they want some type of doll,
That's true.
and the parents are like, no, that's too expensive, and then they start like having temper tantrums,
That's
and then
true.
you see them break down, and then finally buy them
Yeah.
because they did the temper tantrum, and then that's how they continue asking for things by
You,
throwing temper tantrums.
you made me. I
It all
forgot
starts at
about kids,
Disney.
and then you brought it back. Like if kids were a country, I'm like, let's go after that country. Let's take it over.
I know now as an adult when I go to Disney World because I love it, even now at 38 years old,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, why? Like, who let the kids in? Like, why are they here? They don't have any money. Like, I have money as an
So
adult
true.
to spend. Like, you
Dude,
know,
we've already stolen Halloween from them. Remember when Halloween was for kids, not for like horny single people? Like it was for children getting candy. Now it's for people to wear underwear in the street.
totally,
Like
totally.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm already planning my outfit. It's months away, but I can't wait to wear practically nothing for Halloween. It's gonna be amazing.
What a mixed, like, I know this theme of this show is so yin yang. You started out with you saying sweet and sour things, and now you've got this really bizarre sweet and sour experience. Where you're in this country, you don't speak the language, but you have access to kid heaven.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Awesome.
amazing. It was a great childhood. I mean, my experience was different than my older sisters, just because
Sure.
they learned English later on in life. My oldest sister was 15. When you start school in Puerto Rico, you actually start a year younger than like in the States. So you start at 4. So she was already like a junior in high school, needed to take her SAT. She barely spoke English.
Oh,
Like it
that's
was a
tough.
struggle for
That's
her.
really
Yeah,
hard.
that's
You
Yeah.
know, to apply to school, take the exams, and then, become an adult while she's learning the language. So,
Yeah.
within our family, our experiences were very different based on our age and
Yeah.
how well we spoke
Oh,
the
What
yeah.
language.
a crazy combination
So,
of things she was going through. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, I finally learned to speak English. I finally did well on my SAT test. I think I've got like, what are these boobies?" Like everything at once.
Everything at once, yeah.
My genitals are bleeding.
My little kid, 4 years old, he speaks much better English than
Or
me.
my 4-year-old
because-
brother speaks better English than me,
because
yeah.
he catch it faster than her. Yeah.
And let me guess, they translate at parent-teacher conferences? Yes, I had to
did you
do
do
that.
that?
Oh,
Oh my
totally,
God.
totally. I mean, I was a good student. Like,
Yeah.
I remember having to translate, like, oh my God, Will cried because he got a B, because I was like totally that kid. But yeah, I had to translate during parent-teacher conferences. Nobody else had to do that.
That's
you
so
know? So
interesting.
you have to play like the kid and the parent when your parents don't speak the language. And
Did
that's
you
just-
ever lie for your siblings to soften the blow if your brother or sister were going to get in trouble in the parent conference meeting?
Oh.
Or if you were?
Well, we all translated our own parent-teacher
Ah, interesting.
conferences, so it's not like I sat in for my brothers,
Oh,
Sure.
or, and
yeah.
Did
vice
you dilute the
versa.
truth?
I would do, well, not at parent-teacher conferences, but whenever they would go to church and then I'd be at home with my brother and we said that we'd just be like watching TV. Meanwhile, we're actually going to the neighbors and using their pool and like sneaking out of the house. So we always lie because we grew up in a very strict household. You don't go outside without the family. Very
Yeah.
strict, like immigrant cultures. Like you don't really hang out with people who aren't really your own, who they do not know, and we totally like ventured out. And
Yeah. Because, I mean, and it's funny because I think some people might be like, oh, yeah, immigrants are like that. They hang out with their own. It's like, no, it's a safety precaution.
Yeah.
You're in this country with no safety net.
Yeah.
And no family. Everything, you've left everything behind. It's just self-protectionism. It's not an offensive thing. It's a defensive thing.
Totally.
Like I had a friend of mine say to me, well, kind of an old friend. He goes, you know what I like about you? You're the kind of immigrant I like. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he goes, it means you've got friends from all these different places. I don't like immigrants that only hang out with other immigrants. And I explained to him, I go, listen, nobody moves from Korea to move to Koreatown. That's not the way it goes. Like immigrants come to America the way nerds go to high school. Like I'm here to be friends with the popular people. I'd like to be your friend, please. And then they start making fun of me, calling me hummus face. And then at lunch, I'm sitting at a table with 15 other immigrant nerds, and that's Little Ethiopia, or Little Italy, or Koreatown. Like that's how all these little towns, they're just nerd tables. Like we wanted to be friends with you, but you
Yes.
pushed us away. That's what happens
Yeah.
sometimes, you
Yeah.
know?
Don't push us away. We're just trying to be friends. We're just trying to be friendly. We just all want to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
just don't throw the football so hard.
and don't do it at my face. I think we've all had that. We've all had a ball thrown at our face because we were different.
Oh, totally, totally.
100%. Yeah.
So speaking of balls being thrown in faces,
Yes.
what was the most difficult time for you? You thought I was going to go somewhere crude, didn't you?
I know. I was like, oh, we're going that route. I'm like, and I'm like, am I gonna share this with your mom in front of?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. She's like, actually, I'm curious. I love your mom. She's
She's the
fantastic.
Yes, you can.
So I guess the most difficult thing is like, every generation of an immigrant family is different, and they have their own definition of how you should behave to be representative of your culture.
Sure.
So I feel like, growing up in America, you still want to be known as, in my case, like, I still want Puerto Ricans to think that I'm Puerto Rican.
Sure.
But I also
Sure.
want to, be able to acclimate where I live and be able to, just like talk to somebody and like, and acclimate to this country. So it's hard to kind of
And how
find that
how
delicate
much.
balance.
That's right.
So you make everybody happy, and that's just
Yeah.
impossible to do because everybody has a perspective of how you should behave based on what your background is.
It's such a
Yeah.
tug of war.
Totally, it's
the
exhausting.
the way you just described it reminded me of my own experience. I'm like, I don't think people realize that. It's not as simple as come to America and now become American. It's come to America, start to become American, and then your culture tells you you're being too American,
American.
and they pull you back, and then you do something that seems ethnic on Instagram, and then your American friends are like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
and then they pull you, and it's this tug of war
Yeah.
with your own identity. And like for me, what was helpful?
Were you reviewing my Instagram profile? Is that why you went there?
Of course, I've seen your Instagram. We're friends on Instagram.
I'm teasing. I'm joking.
But it's true. It makes me go. And two, you took a picture with somebody. You were on Instagram today with somebody that I'm good friends with. I
I
can't
know.
remember who it was.
Leon.
No, it was Aiden.
Oh,
It was
Aiden.
Aiden, yeah.
Yes. Love Aiden.
Yeah, he's so great.
We just went to the San Diego County Fair. It was
That's
so,
what it was.
so
I saw that you
fun.
guys were at the fair. Yeah, see?
It
So
was,
I was
it was
there.
a great town. They had a whole gay section too. It was a lot bigger than we thought it was
A
going to
gay
be.
section, like a smoker section.
Basically. It had its own wing. It was like the West Wing.
Maybe,
You know?
maybe that could fix all the problems. If we just had a gay section in
I think
America.
everything should have a gay section.
Right, you could marry who you
Sure.
want to marry. You could love who you want to love, and then we could have like a hate section, and you could shoot each other. You can keep the babies. I'm sorry.
I hope someday we don't have hate.
Yeah.
Just be whatever you want and leave me alone. Love is great. Hate, it's ugly thing. Eat you up.
It does eat you
So
up. You're right.
I
Mom.
hope no hate.
Yeah, I mean, I want to hope for that, but I
Yeah.
can't. I can't.
It's a
I know
very
it's just
hard.
it's an ingredient in life.
Yeah.
You know,
Very hard.
It's a bummer. It is. It sucks. It's a bummer. And I feel like a lot of times it comes from us guys. You know, like you always hear stories about people in war when they lose their leg. Sometimes they can still feel a scratch on their foot.
Jesus.
Ah.
Right, on
Oh.
the foot that's no longer there, it feels like it's itching. It's a weird
Yeah.
brain thing, and I think with a lot of us men, we grew up to be violent. Our brains were designed to be violent, to kill animals and hunt, and
Yeah.
but even though that leg's been cut off, we still get an itch.
Oh.
There's aggression in us, and I think it's no one ever teaches us to deal with emotions. Like the only thing we've been told as kids is boys don't cry.
Yeah.
That which is terrible because women grow up with impossible physical standards and we grow up with impossible emotional standards. Men not crying, men not talking about what makes them sad, all that stuff is really, really hurtful.
Even certain colors that you shouldn't wear.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it's so
exactly. Oh, don't
stupid.
wear pink.
Exactly.
Why is it pink?
Yeah.
How come I can wear blue and light blue? Why not red and light red?
Yeah.
It's
Or-
light red.
Or yellow.
Yeah.
I want to wear
Yeah, why not?
yellow
Why
or
not?
orange.
Yeah,
okay?
what's wrong with being happy?
Exactly.
What's wrong with that? And why is it anybody else's business?
Yeah.
You know, I had this thought the other day. I'm like, well, how come everybody is so sure of things?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sure this is good, or I'm so sure that's. I'm not sure of anything.
Yeah.
Anytime I believe something, 2 years later, it's not true anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, like
I
Pluto
agree.
no longer being a
Like,
planet?
Pluto's not a planet. Pluto was a planet.
Didn't
You
it
know,
come
this
back to
is-
becoming a planet?
Yeah, I think it went back to being a planet.
Uh-huh.
Just all these weird things. When Roseanne Barr used to be a good person, now she's not a good person. Like, I used to love her.
That is one of the most heartbreaking things.
Me
Seeing
too.
that go down because Roseanne was my favorite sitcom growing up.
Me too.
My older brother and I would watch it religiously. We've seen every episode maybe at least 10 times. Like the
Yeah.
episode where Roseanne's father died is my all-time
So
favorite
good.
episode. So when
Yeah.
all of that went down, my heart literally just broke.
Yeah. And it's a
Didn't-
strange thing. It comes from a place of like this angry, offensive.
I think, but to me, Trump, he destroyed her because she followed Trump too much.
Yeah, he's
I
very
think
he's the
so.
opposite of the
Yeah.
Michelin man.
Yeah.
It seems like anytime somebody gets too close to him, it turns to shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not even meaning that in an opinionated way. I mean that in a factual way.
Yeah.
Almost anybody that's worked for him or who's gotten close to him, he'll
She
throw his
felt
own son under the
okay
bus.
to say that. Maybe
Yeah.
not in her blood.
Yeah.
But she felt, oh, the guy, president of United States.
Yeah.
Well, I'm okay. I can say that too. Maybe
That's
she
right.
hurt
I
by
think you're right.
somebody.
Yeah.
You know, so she did it. Like the other day, maybe months ago, I have a guy, he golf, and we have some pink shirt. And I told him, this my favorite. And he said, this is gay. And I have a woman, she work with me. She's so sweet. She's lesbian. And I said, oh my God, don't say that. Oh my God, I don't want her to hear because that's not right. And I said, what's wrong with that? He said, no, that's a gay. I said, what's wrong with gay? What's wrong? So his friend pulled him out and said, you shouldn't say that. I said, damn right.
Good for you.
Damn right. Because I don't want
That's
her to hear
amazing.
that. It's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for defending us.
course,
And like literally the only thing that's gay is when two people of the same sex have sex. Everything else is just
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just
Whatever I do.
some other adjective, but it's not gay.
You want to
Like,
know what's queer?
Yeah.
A lesbian wearing pink. Lesbians don't wear pink. but I love that you did that. I love that you're. That,
Of course,
that-
you know, I
yeah.
have lots of gay and lesbian in my friend. You know
Yeah.
that.
Her best friend when I was in
So
high
no
school.
wonder she looks this fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew it. This had a gay explanation to
Yes,
it.
of
You look
course.
gorgeous.
When I was in
Of
high
course.
school, her best friend was a gay guy named Bob that owned a flower shop.
oh,
Yeah.
of course.
And he designed every single one of the corsages and
For him.
what do they call those? Is that a corsage? It goes on the
Corsage, yeah.
girl's
oh
wrist.
my god, that's
Yeah,
so
and boutonniere.
sweet.
Yeah.
They were like so over the
was
top
so-
I
that
want a
girls started asking me to prom.
corsage.
Like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
because the
sweet.
flowers
He
were
was
insane.
Awesome man.
Yeah.
Awesome man.
Yeah.
But he passed away now.
I'm sorry to hear
But
that.
yeah, but that's first experience, and I
That was
introduced
your
Tamer
first
to
gay
him.
friend, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, to let him know he's gay, and he has AIDS. And during this time and age, anybody has AIDS, nobody touched.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And it's crazy. It's not fair.
I know.
You don't know how he feel. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But I was close to him, and I forced my husband. I introduced
Yeah.
Tamer to him.
It was the
We
first
visit-
time
yeah,
I've
we
ever seen my
visit him
mom
in a
stick up to my
hospital.
dad.
Yeah. And,
Well, thank
goes-
you for that because being an ally in the 80s is a very different
Totally.
experience.
Oh,
Totally,
yeah,
yeah.
totally.
And,
Oh
than
my
it is
God.
being an ally
You
today.
cannot say I'm gay. You
Mhm.
can't. You hide it. And why? Yeah, speak up. And I'm proud of you to say I'm gay, and nothing wrong with that. You know, that's you.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself. I'm gay. You don't have to say I'm gay.
Hi, I'm gay.
Yeah, you don't have
My
to
name is
say,
Will.
Okay.
My cat's name is Grace. And together we are gay.
Yeah, so-
One
But,
of, one of
you
my
know-
favorite comics is this guy, Exene, in New York. And he has
Uh-huh.
this great bit where he goes, you know, I've got a cousin who's special needs, and people tell me all the time. And I'm doing Exene's delivery. He goes, I have a cousin who's special needs, and they tell me, and I asked him, do you prefer to be called special needs or retarded? And he
Ah.
goes, I prefer if you call me Mike. I'm like, that's so funny. You could just use Mike. I'm like, that's great.
Let me tell you something. I went last year wedding for two lesbian, my favorite. She's like my daughter, and Tamer was me too. And
That's when I told
put
you
a
I smoked
picture-
weed for the first time.
yeah, I put picture. I put picture on Facebook, and you know I'm Egyptian. Egyptian very crazy head with that. So somebody
Wait,
called
can you
me.
say that again? I want you to hear.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
I just love the way she says
Oh,
crazy.
so, yeah, crazy. One lady, she called me. She say, "Did you went to a lesbian wedding?" I said, "Yes, I did." And she said, "Oh, we pray for you and for them." I said, "Please, don't pray for anybody.
Yeah.
They don't need your pray. I don't need your pray. I'm okay."
Thank you.
Yeah. And I said, "That's not right." And also,
Thoughts
I'm
and
not
prayers is
gonna
an
ta-
epidemic.
yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It needs to stop.
But Canada, I have to say something very fast. You know, I watched it in 60 Minutes last week. I'm so sad to say, was Egyptian guy, gay from Egypt. He went to Egypt visit, and he went with a gay flag. And what they did in airport, they cut him, and they put him in a prison, and they beat him up.
Oh, my God.
It's horrifying.
He was in 60 Minutes last week. And then Canada, they have something great. I hope we have it here. They have safe house
yeah.
for gay people. So they have money to bring him back, spend money on lawyer to bring him
protect
back,
him.
or
Oh,
protect
that's
him, and bring
fantastic.
him back to Canada. And
embarrassing.
he was in 60 Minutes last week, and I felt so proud of him. He's Egyptian, and his boyfriend Egyptian too.
That's
But
fantastic.
So
I'm
embarrassing.
so embarrassed
The country does stuff like that.
does to beat
still.
him up. You
It's
don't have
ridiculous.
right to touch him.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of Canada. they have this program to protect people like that.
That's fantastic.
And that's it. I finished.
No, like here in the U.S., there's the Trevor Project. So they provide housing and services to homeless LGBTQ
Oh,
youth
okay.
who have been kicked out of their family for being
Wow.
gay.
Yeah.
So there is something like that. I remember, I used to donate to them when
Good.
I in my previous job. So it's a great organization. So I'm really thankful that
Yes.
there are things here that do provide those services to kids who don't have anywhere else to go
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
to look to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because some families, they kick their kids and they think that's very good to do that. I think this is
It's
not
just
good.
crazy how much when I hear somebody who's really religious reject their own child, it makes me feel the same way as when I watch somebody on stage at a hypnotist show dancing around like a chicken. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what are you doing? How are you this controllable? Do you know what I mean? Like, you look like a fool.
Yeah.
You act like a fool. This is a person you love. Even in the Bible, when God told the guy, hey, kill your son for me, he goes, just kidding, don't do it.
Yeah.
Your kid, it's your kid. It's
Yeah.
your flesh and blood.
Yes.
I don't know what that must feel like.
Yeah.
To feel like the person who gave you life isn't on your side.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many of my gay friends are such strong people, and so many of them so many of them are a lot of my favorite people because they're so strong and they're so authentic and they know who they are.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that's what human beings are kind of like cactuses
But-
or cacti. Like the worse you treat us, the stronger we grow.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're never a normal person once you come out to your family and they don't accept you 100%. Like your path is never going to be the same as anybody else's because they've never had to go through that.
Yeah.
So my coming out experience very intertwined with my parents being both Pentecostal and Puerto Rican. So
Can I ask something a bit about
Yeah.
the Pentecostal religion
Sure.
versus Catholicism?
Yeah.
How is it perceived in Puerto Rico? How do Puerto Rican Catholics, what do they think of you guys?
Oh yeah, growing up, like my parents, like they would think Catholics are super liberal. So it's funny because like here in America, people are like, "Oh, Catholics, conservatives, they're anti-gay." I'm like, "Well, both Catholics and Pentecostals are anti-gay." So,
Wow.
but like they see Catholics as like more liberal, and definitely they had a very negative view of like Catholicism. Like
Wow.
the spectrum to Pentecostals of like who is like gonna go to heaven would go up to Methodists. Like that's the most
Wow.
liberal that you could be in the Christian faith.
So it's
to
even
be-
more conservative than
Oh
Catholicism.
yes, yeah.
Wow.
It's like one level below snakes.
Wow.
Yeah, like seriously, like it's
Wow.
not snakes.
Yeah.
I almost thought like, oh, at least with snakes, like I can learn how to terrorize people back, but like no snake. It's like one level below that. Like that's how crazy it was. Like she mentioned
below
extra.
dancing with snakes and stuff like
I mean, like people would speak in tongues, dance in the Holy Spirit.
Wow, so pretty
I was 11
intense.
years old when I first saw that for the first time, and I
Wow.
also knew that I was gay. And then I would hear people in the altar preaching against homosexuality.
Wow.
And then Latino culture also intertwined. There's this whole machismo, like you can't be
Yeah.
a gay, you're not considered a man if you are gay. And I'm like, really, I can handle pain pretty well as a gay man. I'm pretty macho, if you ask me. But so knowing being 11 years old, knowing that like your culture and your religion rejects that part of you, it's just
Wow.
very hard for you kind of figure out how to move forward. And you're a child,
Yeah.
My
so
And-
you mentioned like you witnessed an exorcism. Like I witnessed people speaking in tongues, dancing Holy Spirit. And as a kid, that can be very, very traumatizing.
Yes.
It must
you know?
have been. It must have felt like the way it feels when you're playing hide and go seek and someone's walking around close.
Yeah.
Because you're not just 11 years old and hearing adults say negative things about gay people, but you're going, I know this about myself and I have to keep it a secret because if somebody finds out the secret, I'm in danger.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
a heavy thing for a kid.
I mean, I
Yeah.
knew, and there were. I've been to church conventions where they like the preacher would announce like, hey, if you're gay, come down here, we'll pray for you, and then
Oh my God.
you'll be like free from the devil or the demon that's inside of your body, because that's what they believe. They believe it's a demon inside of your body. So, and I remember like being like I think 13 at the time. and just being like, don't make a move, like just like pretend like
It's a trick.
yeah, like pretend like you're, just like everybody else. And there were people that would run up there like thinking, that they could actually be cured, because they're just so ashamed of who they are,
Sure.
because that's all they've been taught.
Yeah.
So I remember just like trying to fake it as much as possible, because I knew that if I went up there, like, who knows, like I could be in a conversion therapy camp, like, they could force me to go to church like every night that they had a service. I just knew that whatever, if I went up there, my life would only be far worse than if I just kept quiet and
Yeah.
waited until I was 18 years old to get out of the house. So that's what I ended up
But
doing.
more you're quiet, more you're so scared.
Oh,
also.
totally.
Yeah.
And then when you
Yeah.
bottle up emotions during your formative years,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of it takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
So, when you're in your 20s, you may end up acting out because you didn't have that kind of like
Sure.
proper way of like interacting with like your parent like you normally would. But fortunately we got into a place now where my parents adore me.
Of course.
They move my stuff cross country.
I'm so proud.
I fly to Puerto Rico all the time, and my mom
great.
always has a flan waiting for me. We've gotten to a
great.
fantastic place.
Yeah.
But they still have their reservations, and the coming out experience was not pleasant at all whatsoever. But I gotten to the point where it's like, I'm 38 years old. It's my time to parent them and educate them. And I know they come from a different generation, and I'm just going to take all the fantastic aspects that they've taught me and then just try to like reflect back on them, because that's what they taught me to do.
That's great.
So-
That's
Very
awesome.
good lesson. Yeah.
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 So when did you eventually tell them?
I was 24 years old. I was dating somebody at the time, and they're like, "Oh, I can't date somebody if like you're not out to your parents." And I
Oh,
was very
wow.
impressionable at that age. It's like my first time that I really cared about somebody. And then I went down and I came out to them. And
Wow, that quick.
from New York, well, I had come out at 20 years old, and this was to myself at 20.
Yeah.
And then this was when I was 24. I was living in New York at the time. I flew down to Florida where they were living. This was before they moved back to Puerto Rico. I sat both of them down, and
You really like this guy.
Yeah.
oh yeah. I did. I know. He ended up being an asshole. So I'm like, oh, if I could come out for anybody, why was it him? Why did I do it for him?
Yeah, I could have guessed that.
Mistake,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
mistake.
But it's good for you.
Also,
Yes,
like,
exactly.
it's also really, this is one of the first times I thought, there's a phrase that came out of my head while you were telling this story, and it's that you're a double immigrant. It's as if you're an immigrant to America, but you're also an immigrant within your own family in a
Yes.
way. Almost like an illegal immigrant,
Right.
where you don't want to get caught.
Uh-huh.
And now this is you saying, I'm an illegal immigrant.
Oh God.
Exposing yourself.
We're a resourceful people, okay?
Yeah,
We figure
yeah.
out how to finagle, do things in a sneaky way.
Sure.
I have the green card now, so I can
So your parents didn't know what was happening?
Yeah. And what made things more complicated is that I came out to my brother, and like, oh God, I hope he doesn't get mad at me for this, but I came out to my, we were out to each other, and I told him like, I want to come out to them. He's like, no, I'm not ready. So
Oh, because he hadn't come out
to
yet.
them either.
Was he older?
Older, so
Oh, wow.
4 years older. So I ended up coming out to them like in secret, like behind his back, because I wanted to do it. It was time to do it. And
What made him assume that you coming out would out him?
Oh, he knew. I think like with my brother, I think it's just I just think it's been the unspoken secret.
Sure, and it
you
might
know?
have brought extra attention towards him.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
yeah.
Even though like I feel like it was also the unspoken secret with me, but I think maybe it was a little bit more so with
Jesus,
him.
man, you
And-
you got a lot of tension.
Yeah.
You know, even your coming out story is
Yeah.
more tense than a normal coming out story because you have this other guy whose life you're going to impact
Right.
with his coming out.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is another guy is the one that made you come out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm 24 years old and I'm like working at a gay
Wow.
bar in New York just trying to make ends meet while I'm going to school at the same time, trying to keep up and not fail.
That's my
you
new
know?
favorite sentence. I was working at a gay bar trying to make ends meet. You could have said bottoms meet.
True. Absolutely. We will gloss over that. We could totally go back to my experience working at a gay bar in New York. So I flew down, and then I sat them down and I came out to them but I kind of like try to see if like they could guess. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so I have something to tell you. There's been something I've been meaning to tell you for a while.
Were they getting scared at this point?
Like,
How were they?
Like I could tell they're like, and I'm like, do you think no, I asked them like, do you think you know what I'm about to tell you? There's just something about me that's a little bit different. That's always been the case since I was a little kid. And they're like, no, go ahead. And then I'm like, okay, well, I am gay. I've always liked boys. So like when when you're like 12, 13 and like you like, if you're a boy, you like girls and girls like boys. Like for me, like at the same time, I like boys, and the first question they said, they're like, where is this coming from?
Wow.
They were looking to blame somebody for this because
that's the easy way.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, no, like this is not coming from anywhere. And then immediately they, went to the Bible, like we didn't raise you to be this way.
Wow.
And
Do you think they knew but they wanted you to say it?
no, because I specifically asked them, what did you think I was going to tell you? And they told me, I thought you were going to tell us that you had impregnated a girl, you were living with her, and she was black.
Oh
That's
my God,
what
that's
so
they
specific.
said. I know. I was just
Oh,
like,
God.
how did that whole story come about?
Yeah.
And like, I had a lot of black girlfriends from school, and they just assumed that
So
one of them was my
funny.
girlfriend.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And then my mom was like, but this is so much worse. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't even know how to unpack this right
I
now.
didn't
I'm
know
like,
there was-
do we want to address this issue, or do we want to go back to me being gay? Like, what is happening
I
here?
would love to see that Puerto Rican parent chart.
Oh,
where,
yeah.
like, impregnate a black girlfriend is here, being gay is
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely. I was like, where did this crazy logic come into play? So and they immediately said, they're like, we don't want to meet any of your gay friends. We do not
Wow.
accept this. This is not how we raised you. You know what the Bible says. And I'm like, and then it was weird coming out to them as gay, but then also telling them like, I don't believe what you guys believe.
Wow.
And it was almost like me letting them know that I love you. This is who you are. I accept you for your beliefs.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a reverse coming out situation for them, letting them know like this, you raised me this way. I don't believe what you believe, but I love you.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
So it was not a good situation. We've actually never even spoken about it
Get
ever
out.
since.
You haven't spoken about it since then.
No, like I'll bring things up and they'll just kind of like nod. And then I brought a guy that I was seeing to my graduation, and they like met him, and like I don't think that he realized like who they were, and then I remember like he kissed me on the lips like right when he left.
And he didn't know those were your parents?
Oh no, he knew they were my
Yeah.
parents, but like we didn't actively like kiss each other on the lips when my parents were like right there in front of me. It was just
Yeah.
like natural, and then it was
Sure.
like later on I was like, oh my God, we just kissed each other on the lips in front of my parents,
Yeah.
but they didn't say anything,
Yeah.
so we just like don't talk about it, and that's like a very that in the Latino community, like that's very common. That if if there are gay people, they don't come out. People know, and you just don't speak about it.
See-
So did you ever see One Day at a Time?
Of course.
No,
Yeah,
I'm-
I used to love that show.
My favorite sitcom ever. My heart is broken that it is no longer in Netflix. Please #say One Day at
Yeah.
a Time. I'm gonna go ahead and add that plug because love that show.
Wasn't
But
there
they
a
had
modern version? They did a remake, didn't
yeah,
they?
yeah. That's on Netflix. There's 3 seasons starring Justina Machado. Love that. Rita Moreno was on it.
Oh, you're talking
like-
about the modern one?
Yeah, the modern one.
Wow.
Yeah, like Rita Moreno is on it. She's
Yeah.
like a Puerto Rican goddess.
Yeah.
She's a PGOT, Peabody Award, like an
Wow.
EGOT, like the only one I think, or one of a few. Anyways, well, they have an episode on there where the Elena, the youngest daughter, is trying to come out to, I think, a cousin who everybody knows is a lesbian, but nobody talks about. And then this whole episode was centered around the fact that in the Latino community, if you are gay, nobody talks about it. It's just rushed under the table. You go to these family reunions and like people just like, oh, so how's your roommate? They just don't even broach that subject. And it's just very common. So seeing that was like a mirror of my life, and I had never seen that before.
Yeah, it's funny that I'm really, really glad to hear that because there was a bunch of shows back in the 70s when One Day at a Time came out. All in the Family, Good Times, and they all really they were really topical. They were really daring and brave. They talked about all kinds of things that were happening in the news on a daily basis. They were really edgy shows. So it's really cool to see that they did a remake and that they still went after real issues.
Oh, totally.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it tackled so many things that are very prevalent in society, in the Latino community. They went there. And it was just very nice to see, and I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. So
it's funny because a lot of times people think, "Oh, I feel sorry for the gay son or the gay daughter in this because their parents don't want to talk to them about their lives." You know what? I actually feel sorry for the parents too, because they don't get to know the whole you. They don't get they get to know only a part of their son or their daughter. And it's like they're hurting themselves. It's self-harm. Like a lot of times we look at it as just outward harm, but it's self-harm.
But some parents sometimes they don't accept it right away. Take time.
Sure, I get that.
Like you eat something not delicious, but take time to swallow it. But it's still good.
Are you talking about my cooking? Is that what you're talking
No, really, no.
Do you take time to swallow
Shut up.
Tamer's cooking? Is that how long does it take to eat a meal? Is this like a 2-3 hour event? Is that how long you have to wait for it?
I'm sure they love you 100%.
Yeah.
But some people they prefer, okay, my son gay, but I don't want to talk about it. Maybe because I don't know. But the love there.
Yeah.
I am sure the love
Oh,
there.
I know the love is there.
Yeah.
And
but some people they prefer to put their head down in the sand or something, not to talk about.
So you know
it.
what? This is another perfect segue, Mom. This is what I love
Yeah.
about you. This is how pro you are. We're coming up to the end of the podcast, and you said, I'm sure they love you. So perfect segue for what's been the best time since you've been in America?
I mean, I think it's just like accepting my authentic self. And I think every person has that moment where they embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Did
for
comedy play a part in that?
Absolutely. I think for immigrant people or, you know, Puerto Ricans or anybody that comes to the mainland states and they get to the point where they just accept every single part of themselves and they don't need to please everybody, just themselves. I think that's the most fantastic thing. Like, I love that I grew up Puerto Rican, Pentecostal. English was not my first language. Everything that I used to, I think, had moments of resentment. I think now I realize it's like, well, I finally got to a point where I accept everything about me, and all of that played a part of it. So all of that kind of confusion, kind of chaos, turmoil sometimes, like, it happened for a reason, and it made me a strong ass fucking person. So I'm thankful for all of that, and now I've gotten to a point where I look at my parents very, very differently, and I appreciate everything that they did because I know that they also were kind of living their own authentic self.
Sure.
So
different time.
Totally
Different time. And I think what you said was right, that there was a period where your parents parented you, and then there's a period where you're educating them. And there's a very real thing that that when I used to work in advertising, I worked as a strategist, and there's a phenomenon called the reverse accumulation of knowledge.
Ooh.
And it means because of technology, for the first time, young people are teaching older people things. Where there was a time when the oldest guy in the boardroom was the guy everybody looked to as the source of authenticity and accuracy and knowledge. and now it's the youngest person. Because of technology, it's changed things. And I think you're right that we have to update our parents' software sometimes. And our
Oh my God, that's the best
Right?
term. Update your parents' software.
yeah, like
Love
if
that.
some parents are smartphones and they could download this new software, and some of them are flip phones.
A Nokia.
And you just have to be like,
The
that's
Razor.
okay. There's a certain age where you're like, hey, it's okay. And
Yeah.
and you know, but it is our job in a way to at least be like, you helped me figure out what a good life was when I was a kid. Now I'm gonna give you my opinion as well. I'm not gonna make you do anything. I'm just gonna say, here's my opinion as someone who's maybe a little bit closer connected to culture as a younger person. You disconnect from culture as an older person the way you were disconnected from culture as a younger person. And when they were at the age we're at now, they were the best Sherpas for how to navigate life. But we're at Sherpa age now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's our time to
Very
pass
true.
the knowledge. And Mom, thank you for always being such an open-minded person.
Yeah, this is life. I'm not
Yeah.
God here to judge anybody.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody, you don't judge any person for anything
Yeah.
because you're not God in earth.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't know if I've ever told you thank you for it, but now we're doing the podcast. People email in all the time. They send me letters about how great you are, and it
is it-
reminds me like, oh my God, I've forgotten. It's like,
well,
I've
that's
forgotten
love.
that I'm lucky. So thank
Oh,
you.
that's love.
You're
Oh,
very
yeah.
lucky.
I
Your
am.
mom
Yeah.
is
Lucky.
so lovely. And I can't stress, you are drop dead gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Stunningly beautiful.
Okay, hold on. Let me
Yes.
do
Oh,
that.
she showed her shoulders. Getting very
I
uncomfortable.
think it's a direct reflection of the support of the LGBT community, okay?
Now I'm having nightmares that you two are going to get married.
Now
Now I'm having nightmares that you two are going to get married and Will's going to ground me. Go to your room, Tamer.
I support the lesbian and gay because I know they go through a lot. And I have some period in my life, I went through the discrimination, so I understand a lot.
Yeah.
Because I married different religion and
Yeah.
I went through very bad time.
Yeah.
People very mean to me. And I hate it because they discriminate. Nice guy,
Yeah.
because the religion.
They discriminated against your husband. They discriminated
You're
against
my
your
son,
baby.
your
Oh my
son,
When I was in your
son.
stomach.
Yeah. So
It's crazy.
I know what they go through or you guys go through. And all my love for anybody, be yourself. And
100%.
happy, 100%.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
And
So
I'm sure
we'll-
your parents love you, but
They
you know.
do, and I love them.
Yeah,
And they're so
they
cute.
drove all away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the
Thank
podcast.
you so much for having me.
I hate that we're running out of time. We got to have you back because
I'd
like
Yeah.
love to.
because I want to
It's so
talk about
fun.
some of the spiritual weird exorcism
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh God, we
Maybe
just
we
scratched
can-
the surface.
That'd be a fun episode actually because I think in foreign countries we're more open to some of the voodoo and magic and exorcisms and things like that. Maybe we can have a couple episodes that talk about immigrant culture that's about that stuff. And guys, if you want to hear that, let me know. Send us a message. But Will, before we go, do you want to tell people how they can find you and if they want to come see you do comedy? Where they can
Sure,
find you?
sure. So you can find me on social media. So I'm Will J Melendez on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, Will Melendez. So the next show that I'm actually doing, this is a really fun show. It's going to be at the Secret Comedy Club over at Sal's
cool.
Restaurant this
Yeah.
Wednesday, 8 p.m. So it's the first melting pot show.
Cool.
Hosted by Irina Voronina and
Oh, she was a
Raquel
guest
Hoffman.
recently,
Yes.
yeah.
Very sweet.
So it's a really exciting show because all the comics are going to be dressed in their traditional garb from
way.
their ethnic heritage.
How
And there's
cool.
going to be a costume contest.
Okay, I'm
also.
coming. That sounds really cool.
So I think it's going to be a really fun night, and I think we're going to learn a lot about people's backgrounds. So I think
That's
it's
great.
gonna be
I love
great.
it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, Mom, I think you just told me that you're going to be coming to London with me in August for a little bit.
The last 10 days.
The last 10 days. So
Yeah.
London friends, Europe friends, I'm going to be in Dublin the first week of August at Laughter Lounge, and then in London for the remaining 3 weeks. I might pop up to the Edinburgh Fringe for a few days to visit some friends up there, but my mom's going to be there too, and maybe we'll do a couple podcasts from London.
Yeah.
We'll
it'll
get
be
some
fun.
of those
Yeah.
weird English speakers out there, the original
It
white
will be
people.
fun.
I've seen people so white they didn't look finished in England. This guy's arms look like spring rolls. Well, guys, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Please keep giving us 5-star reviews and recommending to your friends. We love you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Always
you.
fun.